Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Tonight we have huge news. Moving on to the next deck build pack, Valiant Smashers. We have the next archetype reveal. This is VALMONICA, I believe is the technical name here. Really cool. It's this archetype based on these two girls. One's kind of like an angel, one's kind of like a demon. They have this cool dichotomy to them. They're also pendulums, which is cool. I guess before we get into it, shout out to Yu-Gi-Oh! Organization. I do not shout out them enough, but I make a lot of videos using their site as a reference for new stuff that's been revealed and translated with the utmost quickness and, to be honest, effectiveness too. They're very accurate with translations. Very rarely does stuff not come out there, but they do a great job. That's pretty much what it is. But let's get into this thing. Let's talk about this new archetype here, VALMONICA. We start with the first one here, which is Angelo VALMONICA. This is a dark fairy pendulum effect monster. It's a level 4. It has a scale of 3, and its stats are 1221. So pretty big booty on it. Let's check out the pendulum effects. While you have a fiend monster card in your other pendulum zone, each time you gain life points, place one resonance counter on this card. Okay, so when you gain life points, you get a counter. Second effect, once per turn, when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can immediately, after this effect resolves, link summon one VALMONICA monster. Okay, we're going to get to some links later, I guess, but that's cool as well. Very cool there. So if your opponent wants to attack, okay, kind of deters your opponent from attacking if you can punish them with a link summon. That's pretty scary. All right, next up, monster effects. 2 hard once per turns on this effect, on this part of the effects for this card as well. If this card is in your hand, you can discard one other card, place this card and one Demon VALMONICA from your deck into your pendulum zone. I'm going to assume that's the other one. The dark one, the fiend one, I think. But cool, that's pretty good. I mean, just this and any other card in hand gets you full scales. Second effect, during the main phase of this card was normal or special summoned this turn, you can banish one VALMONICA normal spell or trap from your graveyard. This effect becomes that card's life points gain effect when that card is activated. Okay. All right. So this card can copy the life point gain effect of a VALMONICA normal spell or trap. Interesting. Okay, cool. Seems decent. We don't know enough about the rest, but that's cool. Cool start. Next up here, we move into Demone VALMONICA. She's a light fiend, pendulum effect monster, level 4, scale 5, so we're pen summoning 4s, it looks like. Makes sense because they're both level 4s. And same stats, 12, 21, big booty. Pendulum effect. While you have a fairy monster card in your other pendulum zone, each time you take effect damage, place a resonance counter on this card. Of course, okay. So they get them via opposite ways. This one gives you a counter if you take damage and have a fairy. The other one gives you a counter if you gain life points and you have a fiend. So they need to kind of both be in your zones. Second effect, monsters your opponent controls lose 100 attack for each resonant counter on cards you control. That can definitely add up. I mean, I don't know how many we're going to be able to get to with the rest of the deck and how it functions, but if we could get 5, 6, and then some counters on each one, now we're really talking about something. All right, here we go. Monster effect. If this card is in your hand, you can discard one other card, place this card in Angelo from your deck in your pendulum zone. So same effect. They both are 1.5 card scales, which is pretty cool. During the main phase of this card was normal or special summon this turn, you can banish a VALMONICA normal spell or trap from grave. This effect becomes that card's damage inflicting effect when that card is activated. Nice, no complaints there. They get you scales, but they don't really do anything else aside from get you scales by themselves. So hopefully the rest of the archetype really pulls that through. Okay, we move to some links. This is a link 1. This is Odd Deity of VALMONICA, Girarme. Oh man, I don't know how to pronounce that. But this is a dark fairy link effect monster. It's a link 1 with 2,500 attack and it points down left. It takes any effect monster. Okay. Cannot be link summoned unless you have a fairy monster card with 3 or more resonance counters in your pendulum zone. Okay, so you cannot summon this at all unless you have at least 3 counters on the fairy one. Interesting. Okay. That's a decent enough restriction, I think. You can only special summon this card once per turn. If this card is link summoned, you can target monsters your opponent controls up to the number of resonance counters on cards in your Pendulum Zone. Destroy them. Wow. Okay, so this is kind of the power of being able to quick link on your opponent's turn if they try to attack you. You can punish them by just making this and then just destroying a bunch of cards your opponent or monsters your opponent controls. Nice. Or even just going second as an engine. Pretty cool. Second effect, you can remove 3 resonance counters from cards in your Pendulum Zone. This card can make it a second and third attack during each battle phase this turn. So this card by itself threatens 7,500 damage. It clears monsters off the field. And it doesn't take much material. You just have to get to this baseline, which is 3 or more resonance counters on a fairy. Interesting, but a pretty powerful card nonetheless. All right, next up we have, of course, a counterpart, more fiendish Link 1. This is Divine Oddity of Valmonica Zabufara. This really is looking like a lot of letters from Zephyra. In fact, all of them. But yeah, cool. This is a light fiend link monster, 2,500 attack, and it's a link 1, points down right, so again, really scary, takes any effect monster, of course, has the same summoning condition, but opposite. It needs a fiend monster with 3 or more resonance counters in the Pendulum Zone, so kind of balances that. If this card would be destroyed by battle or card effect, remove 3 resonance counters from cards in your Pendulum Zone instead. Okay, so cool. Kind of protects himself from anything destruction-based. Once per opponent's turn, quick effect, target one of your Valmonica normal spell or traps that is banished or in the grave. This effect becomes that card's effect when that card is activated. Wow, so you don't even have to like remove the card. It's just targeted. Wow, that's kind of nasty. Okay, so we'll see what the spells and traps do, but I'm assuming there's going to be some interruptive ones that this card can copy to become an interruption of his own. It's only opponent's turn, but I still think this, again, like, it requires so little to summon, you just have to get to this, the 3 resonance counters. That's the big question, but so far, cool. Starting off, moving into the spells here, we start with Angelic Demonic Selector, Valmonica. I can't tell what this is. It kind of looks like a piano. It kind of looks like a harmonica, which I guess goes with like the name. I can't tell. I honestly can't tell, but it looks cool. All right, you can only activate 1 card with this card's name per turn. You can only use the second effect once per turn. We've got a field spell. When this card resolves, you can add a Valmonica monster from deck to hand. Okay, we've seen it a million times. No problems there. This does add your 2 girls, so that's great. If interesting that it's only monster. It's not any of the spell or traps. Keep that in mind. If the 3rd resonance counter is placed on a card in your Pendulum Zone, you can target one monster your opponent controls. Take control of it till the end phase, but it cannot declare an attack. Wow, that is so strong. If this resolves, if that second effect resolves, you are like winning the duel. Because if you're getting a 3rd counter on your guys anyway, you now can make the link 1s. You can just steal an opponent's monster and immediately use it for a link 1. Sheesh. This card's strong. I mean, it's a starter, clearly. It has a cool bonus effect when you get to like the win condition in your deck once anyway, which is just getting resonance counters. Very, very scary. Okay, cool card. Good card. All right, Valmonica Versare. Normal spell, you can only activate 1 card with this card's name per turn. Apply one of these effects, your choice. Your opponent's choice, sorry, if you do not have a Valmonica card in your Pendulum Zone. Okay, so you have to have one in scale for you to choose, but if you don't, your opponent gets to choose. Gain 500 life points, then you can excavate cards from the top of your deck until you excavate a Valmonica card. And if you do, add it to your hand and shuffle the rest back into the deck. Take 500 damage, then you can send a Valmonica card from your deck to your graveyard. So your opponent chooses, like, do you want to give your opponent a Foolish Burial or a... I guess it's... The cool part about that first effect is it's not just like Area 0 or something like that, Foxy, where you only get to look at 3 and pray that you hit one of your archetypal cards. This goes until you hit something. It just keeps going. So there's no whiff on that, and then depending on whether you gain or take damage, this card gets better or worse. I think this seems like a pretty good card in the deck. Also, this is what they meant when this one can kind of copy the effect that gains life points when activated. And then this one copies the effects of a card that inflicts damage when activated. So very, very cool that like that's kind of what you're looking at here. You can get a Foolish Burial. You could get a a endless area 0 effect. It's pretty good. Cool, nice card. Moving on, we move to Valmonica Intonare. This is a normal spell. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. Apply one of these effects, your opponent's choice, if you do not have a Valmonica in the zone. Gain 500. Then your opponent chooses one monster in your hand or in your graveyard. Sorry, that can be special summoned, if any, for you to special summon it. Okay. Take 500 damage. Then you can add one level 4 monster from your graveyard to your hand. Okay. Not a huge deal. Kind of a lot going on here. This is just kind of an extender one, it appears. Getting something back from grave, but if you're getting something back and then it's a level 4, so you'd be able to pen summon it out. It is any level 4, which is kind of nuts. That kind of seems like what the deck is being kind of pushed towards, is trying to get you to play an assisting level 4 engine, because you can pen summon them out with this engine, and this deck seems to have, and they can take generic materials to make the links that way, so cool. Very interesting. Then we get to the traps. 2 traps here to finish us off. This is Valmonica of the Guiding Rhythm. It's a normal trap, hard once per turn. If you control a Valmonica monster, apply one of these effects. Or if you control a Valmonica Link monster, you can apply both in sequence. Gain 500, then destroy one spell or trap on the field that's non-targeting. Or take 500 and return one monster on the field to the hand, also non-targeting. It's very strong if you have both set up. Or at least the Link monster setup, so you can do both. Because you're going to gain take, which is going to give you more, way more resonance counters, and you're going to hit a back row and a monster on the field, non-targeting. Very strong card. It's probably a one of in the deck, I would guess, because you can just make the second Link 1, and then copy this card whenever you want to just do it like, you know what I mean? Hit like bounce, non-target bounce, and pop a back row on the opponent's turn whenever you want. That's pretty good. I like that. And the last card we have here is Valmonica of the Selecting Melody. This is a normal trap. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. If you control a Valmonica monster, apply one of these effects. But if you have a Link, do both. Cool. Gain 500. Also, your opponent cannot target Valmonica cards you control with card effects for the rest of this turn. Okay. Mid protection effect. Take 500, then you can negate the effects of one effect monster your opponent controls until the end of this turn. Oof. This one, not as strong. I mean, like, it's an imperm, I guess. It's a searchable imperm type card. But if this was any card, it'd be so much better, because then at least you're able to stop, like, board breakers. But it's just, like, a worse imperm. It's searchable, I guess, which I guess makes it a little bit better. But also the spells and traps are not uber searchable, right? These don't search you anything. They don't search you cards. They can copy stuff that's already engraved, but they can't search you stuff. The field spell one gets you monsters. This one excavates, but you kind of have to like hit the right card, so that's not a guarantee. This one's an extender. Yeah. So one thing I'm noticing is there's no way to like get access to the exact spells and traps that you want consistently, like super consistently here, unless I'm missing something. But of course, this is a deck build pack, so you also need to keep in mind that, where are we missing? Okay, yeah, right here. So the field spell is card number 35 in the set, and this spell is a 37 in the set. So we're actually missing card 36. And of course, just like always, sometimes it's just an absolute banger. It's a card that ties it all together, makes it all feel right. Or even if it still feels okay, I mean, how many archetypes have we seen from deck build packs specifically? Rescue Ace, right? Adventure, Exosisters, that started out so meh, and then just like as soon as they got either their second wave or the final card revealed for their archetype, they like immediately were like really, really good. So I think there's definitely an interesting setup here. It is one of those decks that scares me, though, because one of my favorite things as a duelist who likes to play particularly mid-rangey decks, mid-range control type decks, is a deck that feels like it has to get to a certain point that is not super early in your lines to actually like do what the deck wants to do. So essentially what I'm calling deck is fragile at this point. If you do not get 3 counters on your guys, you are in trouble. because like if you're not making the link 1s, it really doesn't feel like the deck is doing much of anything. You kind of have to get to the link 1s because those are really the power plays for the deck. If you can, we might be working with something, but easier said than done here. So we'll see. Very cool though. There's going to be one more spell here, and then of course, like I said, support in the next core set, probably support in the core set to follow that. If they just give the deck like crazy engine cards that help you get those resonance counters like consistently and maybe even through interruption fairly regularly, we could be looking at something pretty nasty. But for now, it just seems interesting. Definitely some potential for sure, but it's hard to judge anything before really knowing the full scope of what the deck's going to have at its disposal. But there you go. That's the new archetype. That's our VALMONICA archetype. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts down below. What are you thinking already? Maybe some level 4 engines that you think could already be splashed in the deck. Something you're theorizing there, because they're pen summonable. You know, there may be some other ways to access certain cards with rank 4 engines, with whatever, generic, searching, whatever. I don't know. But I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. So let me know what you're thinking. Let me know your first impressions of the archetype and where you want to see it go. But I'll catch you in the next video, guys. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more news videos from me. Shout out to your organization. I don't shout them out enough. That's on me. But, yeah, I love you guys. See you in the next one. Peace.